Good evening, folks. It's Sunday, 17th of March, and I hope you're well. Anybody really who knows me um, will know that I have a passion for animals, particularly birds. And in my time, I have been heavily into falconry, uh, kestrels, gyrosakas, not particularly for hunting. Um, but for just flying for sport, really. Send them off, they fly around when they're hungry, and they come back, and they'll come back even if they're at a couple of thousand feet. They're keeping their eye on me because they know that I've got the food. And if I got a little whistle and they're flying around in a circle, looking at me, they're waiting. And if I just blow a whistle and do that, they can see me as close as you can see your hand. Such is the power of their terrific eyesight. And what they do is they close their little wings and they dive straight down. And they can come down 1,000, 2,000 feet in 30 seconds tops, straight onto your fist, and they're ravaging. They're very hungry. Because when you're flying birds don't fly for fun at all, ever. We think they do, but they don't. They're fundamentally very lazy, and they conserve their energy. And the only time you fly them is you weigh them first to see what their weight is. Because you know their ideal flying, you want their hunger weight. Okay, and then you feed them, then you weigh them again, and you know pretty much when they won't eat anymore what their full rate is, if you like, full tank. So before you fly them, you never fly a bird when it's satiated, because the moment you let it go, it'll bugger off and sit in a tree, which I've had it happen to me. And you wait and you wait and you hope and pray they don't fly away too far before they get hungry, and that's the only way you're going to get them back to you. They have to have a motivation to come, and the food is the motivation, the hunger is the drive for them to seek you out again. So I've lost a bird for a couple of days and found it in my garden, come back for more, such tarts that they are. And I lost an owl overnight as well. That's quite a worry, because they tend to get duffed up, do owls, by others. They're very territorial. And I was very sad about that, and woke up one morning, drew the curtains, and he was on the fence waiting to come in because he was hungry. It was a barn owl. It was my wife's barn owl, actually. Anyway, when they do decide to be pally-pally, they can be quite vicious. And I've got the scars on my hand to prove it. It's difficult to show you on the videos, but I've got scars all over my hands where I've been clawed, particularly down here. Don't, shoop. Because when they're hungry, they truly are ravenous. And they need satiating. That's the motivation, food. Well, it's the same with humans, quite frankly. If ever you've been that hungry that you would kill for food, you truly would kill for food. Kill other people to get the food available. And like those people on the airplane crash, they had to eat the people that died in the crash eventually, didn't they? They had to become cannibals to survive, and some of them didn't want to be cannibals. They too died of starvation. They would rather die than... But it's the instinct. They bite the hand. The problem is with birds when they're hungry is they bite the food, they bite the hand that feeds them. Okay, they're only a mate when they want something, but they are so keen to get it. Once they're fed, you can stroke them and do what you want with them. They're such babies. But when they're ravenous, they'll take your hand off for a piece of food, including it could be a piece of your hand. So you'd be very careful. So you have to treat them with respect, innit? Okay. And it always amazes me, biting the hand that feeds them. Because it seems to me that that's what the government do with the populace of a country. They bite the hand that feeds them. And this is being demonstrated as I speak with Brexit. The government are doing a terrible disservice to the British people who have already voted to want to leave Europe, leave the common market, whatever it was, and do a Brexit. The government are now effectively biting the hand that actually feeds them. We vote them in, but they don't care because they really don't care. They've become arrogant and they've become out of control. Like satiated birds, they become cocksure. And sooner or later, you see, the only time they're nice is when they want something. But when they've got something, they don't want to be nice anymore. You know, we feel as though we're used then, don't we? Used and abused. And that's what we are as cattle on the farm. We're just used and abused to satiate a hunger, in politicians' case, a hunger for fame and power and position. To further their position in life, their status. But come the next time to vote, when they're treading the boards, they're out there knocking on those doors, asking us to vote for them. Well, yes, of course I'm voting Labour. And then don't. Of course I'm Conservative. Yes, of course. Give us your sticker, thank you. I'll put it in the window. Don't. We have to teach our politicians that we're not mugs. That they can, fool me once, shame on them. Fool us twice, shame on us. But isn't it strange? I am wholly opposed to wearing designer label clothes. Why should I walk around and pay through the nose for clothes that have got the advert of the clothes manufacturer on them? Who's doing who the favour? But here's the rub. This is the fascination. It's a little bit cheeky, isn't it, to sell you some clothing? And we should be so grateful that they've let us keep a logo on the shirt. Oh yes, it's a Gant. It's a Pierre Cardin. Savile Row, it's a Louis Vuitton in the case of handbags for the girls. Even man bags for their laptops. This disgusting Louis Vuitton. It's an ugly, ugly design, Louis Vuitton, I think. And yet we pay such homage, don't we? We're label worshippers. I wouldn't be seen dead in those jeans. Wrangler only for me. Well, jeans are jeans are jeans. T-shirts are t-shirts are t-shirts. And shirts are shirts are shirts. But you get the arseholes talking about, oh, it's the quality, it's the build quality. Not always. I've seen designer clothes that fall apart. We go so far as to be so impressed and demand this, we get copies. Because if you can't afford it, you buy a copy to emulate those that can afford it, as though there's some form of status. Status, yes, that's that thing where we buy things we can't afford with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like or give a shit about. Why would I want to impress my neighbour or my work colleagues about the clothes I wear? Why? Is that all I've got to worry about in life? That what other people think about me? I must be a very shallow person Really? Why should I give a shit that he's got a designer t-shirt on? He's the mug who's paid for it through his nose. And at the end of the day, a t-shirt's a t-shirt's a t-shirt. What does it say about it? What I see people wearing designer clothes, I just think they're mugs. They're playing their game. They got suckered in. Hook, line and sinker. It's the same with watches. I've got a watch here. It's a Casio. It is £5. 5. See it? Very slim little watch. Okay? Plastics, rubbery plastic strap. I can see it, and I can tell you for £5, I've had it a year. Okay? Can you see that? Beautiful little Casio. Do you know, this says it's 5 o'clock at 5 o'clock. Just the same as my mate's £5,000 Rolex says it's 5 o'clock. You see? I bought a watch because I want to know what the time is. It's rather strange when you look back in history, isn't it? At what stage, you see, in the very early Victorian times, people didn't have watches. Only the rich had pocket watch. Take it out on a chain, have a look. Oh yes, you know, that was it. If you lived if you didn't live in a city or anywhere where there was a church, well, not all churches had clocks. Not really. Only later on in history, but we had to look at the position of the sun. Well, it's about mid-morning. It's sun's overhead. It's got to be 12 o'clock. Oh, it's past the yard arm. Time for a drink, booze. You know, time then become important to us, and people used to charge. If you want to know the time, it's sixpence. Here's sixpence. I need to know the time. I've got to get there. What's the time? What's the time? Oh, it'll cost you. But now you see, we've all got this facility. We can all know with precision, with quartz precision. But the big thing of my watch is such a status symbol. It's status, as I said before. And so we're fooled that, oh, he must be rich or she must be very rich and minted. Look at what they're wearing. Well, talk about gild the lily. Really. I mean, what is their point? I know precisely to the second what time it is. It's good enough for me. It might be a minute out or 30 seconds out. Well, bugger me. Eh? Wow, do you think the world gives a shit? Little old me is going to be 30 seconds late. Or 30 seconds early. You know? This is what we've come to. As though we don't have enough in our lives to worry about, we start to worry about the minutiae of detail. And it just demonstrates really what Western society is, for the most part, is we're all self-obsessed with grandiose, delusional grandeur. When quite frankly, if you only knew how little people looked at you or thought about you or were impressed by you, you wouldn't bother trying anymore. It's for shallow people, and they soon, if they don't, they will soon grow out of it. Image, that's what it is, self-image. It's their own delusional mind. They have to, and they are a bit, listen, some other cleverest and most wonderful, wonderful people I have ever met in my life have been the plainest, simplest, unpretentious people who realised this at a very early age because they were brought up that way. to realise is that stop trying to impress other people, because you'll never impress them all. And why would you want to? So this is why they dress everybody in China at one stage all the same. Well, that's it. Uniformity is the way forward. And we go, oh, thank God for that. Oh, it's such a great leveller, isn't it? But it doesn't work. Because it's in here. That's where we live, in our head all the time. We might be standing here and standing in other countries, or you might be sat down in your lounge or whatever. But you live in here predominantly. And people think that we give a shit. That's the cheek of it. And look at, you go down the Champs-Élysées in Paris and look at all the high class shops. And people are such tarts. They'll show off. They'll have to pull their sleeve back so it'll show that they've got a Rolex. Well, whoopie-doo. And, well, I've got a Rolex. Look, honour me. Look, I'm superior to you because I've got a Rolex. That doesn't make them in the slightest bit superior to me. In their own lunchtime, maybe, in their own silly little immature heads. And that's what it amounts to, immaturity. Because it just shows the depth that they will stoop to, their inadequacies that they will have to compensate for by jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle. That's what, look at Jimmy Savile, for Christ's sake. Jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle, you know. But his gold here, his gold that, and his ugly bloody black teeth, and but the character of the man. Look at what he was. A necrophiliac, paedophile, murdering, slime ball, kiddie fiddler, satanistic bastard. There it is, Rolex and his Rolls Royce. If that's what it takes, count me out. It don't impress me much. Quite frankly, I could afford a Rolex. I've had really, really nice cars in my life. Aston Martin, DB7, one of the best. I thought, you know, I've had some nice cars. I've had it, and I lost it all. Do you know what I don't miss? I don't miss the servicing costs. I don't miss the worry about where I had to park. I don't miss the constant snide remarks. I don't. It's better to drive a banger, folks, because mile for mile, who's the idiot? The guy in a flash car paying a fortune to travel a mile, and it's cost him, probably by the way you work it all out, how much insurance, wear and tear, servicing time, petrol or diesel, usually petrol, you know. Well, it's probably going to cost, just for a mile, let's say it's going to cost £5 a mile to drive when you add up all the costs on a flash car. Depreciation. It's true. £5 a mile. Let's say, arbitrarily. He's gone from A to B and he's driven 5 miles in his flash motor. Big deal. He's achieved the end result. He's driven 5 miles, A to B. And then you get a little guy in a clapped out Mini. Still drives 5 miles. Who's the mug? Well, if you've got it, flaunt it, I suppose. But the people in the flash cars on the big, big houses, in the yachts, how dare they have the temerity and the cheek and the arrogance to even look down on people because they haven't got such things? It's not, for a lot of people, who are very, very wealthy, you wouldn't know. Because it's an obscene thing to do. It's uncultured to show your wealth off. Because remember this, great people make little people feel great by making little people feel great. Okay, it's only the show-offs and the shallow people that are impressed with designer this and designer that, and they get them young, don't they? Advertising, ladies' brochures, ladies' books, men. Oh my God, I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. I used to play golf. And oh dear me, you've got to have the best. And a good golfer would still have a good round with a second-hand bag of clubs he bought from eBay. Okay. Compared to the guy who thinks he's got the latest. And it doesn't matter. There was a competition once by two guys. One guy bought a very old set of golf clubs, the wooden shafted ones. Strangely enough, they used to make them in wooden shafts instead of metal. Okay, this guy was a scratch. That means he didn't have a handicap. He was that good. A pro player with the wooden sticks, and he took on a guy who was an average club player, but he had the best of the best of the best. The Titleists, tailor-made this, tailor-made that. You can go through them. It's got the hat, the t-shirt, the logo, Titleist, Callaway, you name it. And the guy with the wooden club still thrashed the arse off the bloke. It isn't really the size of the dog in the fight, is it? It's the size of the fight in the dog. Because with all their piety and wit, it doesn't mean a thing. It doesn't matter. You can put lipstick on a pig, honey. It's still a pig. And I ain't impressed so much at all, and not at all, by those badge watchers that make shallow decisions on people's character by what clothes they wear. It's not what clothes they wear. It's what comes out of their mouth. And I've said before, by their actions or their fruit, you shall know them. So, before you get too depressed about not being able to afford the latest designer handbags or the latest supercar or the latest this, the latest that, realize that it's only new for 5 minutes while you've got it at home and it's a novelty, but it's amazing how quick the novelty wears off. It's all bullshit at the end of the day, isn't it, folks? Almost every advert you look at on aeroplanes, the flight magazines, it's all Cartier, Boss, yada yada yada. And they have the cheek to say that it's worth it because it's worth it. No, it's not. It's not. I could buy, which I do, these glasses. They're +3s they are, because I have to put them on to read now because I'm at that age. Now I can go down the high street and you can see them, nice little glasses. Okay, and I can go down the high street and I can get some that say Tommy Hilfiger or whatever his bloody name is, or Gant. Yes, or whatever, a designer label on here. And I can put them on and I can see, wow, whoopee-doo, great. I've got the logo here, look, I've got the polo, and I can pay £70-80 down the high street. Or I can go on eBay and I can buy 3 pairs for a tenner. Do exactly the same job without the effinger, or, you know, you can see my point. You see, it speaks volumes to me that people don't wear designer label shit. I think, my kind of guy, my kind of girl. You know, he or she will probably go in, sit down at a piano and play a bit of Mozart. That's impressive. But there's so many. You know, what are we compensating for? Little Willie with the big cars? Are we compensating for the fact that she's an ugly bitch, but you want to see her clothes and jewellery? Well, it's all glitz and glamour, isn't it? Lipstick on a pig. That's what it amounts to. You can tell, can't you? You can tell so much. They say, well, you know, you can always judge people by the way they dress. That's not true. That's a complete fabrication. Excuse the pun. I've met some well-dressed people appearing in court for murder. Yes, they all get dressed up to go and plead guilty, Your Honour, for kiddie fiddling. And they look the part. They look like he's got the boss suit on. He's got the designer stubble. He's got well groomed. And you think, I can't believe it. He's standing there accused of beating his wife and children up. They're all in hospital. Here he is. He's on a charge for grievous bodily harm. He's wearing a boss suit. He looks $1 million. Or you go there and you see some women, and they're punked up to the nines, aren't they? And they strut their stuff. It's like they have a personality change. Oh, she's got all the gear. But you know she's a slag with the morals of a sewer rat. Dropping them off. You know, she's had more pricks than a second-hand dartboard. And yet she demands respect in it because of what she's wearing. It's all kippers and curtains, isn't it, really? It's all nonsense. We're such shallow things, we're easily impressed. Well, some people are. But some of us grow out of it very quickly. But we've got to stop our children becoming heavily influenced in this nonsense and have a little talk to them. And show them that common sense isn't that common, sadly, not in today's society. They all want the designer this and the designer. Who are these designers? Who are they? What makes them so bloody special that we have to advertise their wares? What do I get out of it having a Tommy Effinger, whatever he is, t-shirt on? I don't give a shit. I don't know him or her or it. I don't know. I don't know Gant. I don't know Polo. I truly don't. Because it doesn't occur to me that I will even investigate. I'm that interested, I don't bother finding out because I'm not that interested. It don't impress me at all. I'm impressed by what people say or what they do, not what they wear, because it's like camouflage. All I know is you cannot put lipstick on a pig. You cannot nail jelly to the wall. And you cannot push a rope. And why don't we realise? And until we do, I don't know why we spend a fortune, or others do, on ridiculous designer clothes, making other people's children, allowing other people, facilitating other people's children going to public schools and living big houses, while you'll suffer because you're out there promoting their bloody benefits of their clothes and their badge. Well, save your money, folks. Go and buy a £2.50 t-shirt, not a £70 Gant t-shirt, and then spend the balance on a few books for your kids, or go and take them on a day trip somewhere, for an educational trip into a zoo or a museum. That's money well spent. And teach this to your children at a very early age. Knock it out of them if their friends and peers try to knock it into them. Because at the end of the day, who are the clever ones? The ones who don't fall for such nonsense? Or the ones that do, hook, line and sinker? Well, they're just yesterday's newspaper clippings, aren't they, really? Today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip wrappings. That's why they used to allow us to put fish and chips in newspaper before we went clinical. And we've got to teach these politicians, stop biting the hand that feeds them. It was only because my birds of prey that I used to fly didn't know any better that I used to say, fine, you attack me and I'm not giving you any food, now get lost. Starve to death, I don't give. But it's only because, forgive them, they didn't know. They had no agenda. But the politicians should know better, that they shouldn't bite the hand that feeds them or destroy the people that votes for them. That's a lesson they're due to learn. Because I'm telling you, if they stall this Brexit vote for too long, or this Brexit, if we do not Brexit, which I think is their agenda, there will be hell to pay. Because effectively what the government has done is bite the hand that feeds them. It'll be the end of the parliament system in this country. We don't need democracy, folks. Democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding on what's having for dinner. The mob rule, that's democracy. In the UK, we need a republic. Now that's cooking with gas. But in the meantime, look after yourself. I just check out my £5 watch. It says 7:30, or 19:30 hours for those. Zulu on my cheapy little watch. Okay. And it's the same on his £20,000 Rolex. You see? It's all an illusion, isn't it? It's all bullshit. And I hope you and I are above all this. We just got to teach our kids. Sadly, most parents don't. Catch you tomorrow and have a good evening. Love you all.